As usual, we will start with a short mindful breathing exercise meditation to quiet our mind. Then we can think, it's so unbearable to see so much our individual challenges in our own life, as well as the suffering, the pain and challenges that we see and experience in the world, especially this time. But it's not the first time throughout the history, from the very beginning of our human life in this world, we have had similar up and down. Certain times things are a little better. Certain times things are bad. Certain times is much more worse than what we are experiencing now. That is how it is, has always been like that. And this will also change, this will also pass. This difficult situation is not going to be there forever, like everything else. It's got to change. So therefore, we shouldn't be so depressed and let our mind be so down. And the reason why, it keep on kind of happening again and again, to time, is, because of our own human beings' delusion. Defilements, delusional minds. As long as we have those delusions, eclectic emotions, we will continue to experience conflict, problems, sufferings, again and again. No end, unfortunately. The only way to really solve all this conflict and pain and suffering completely and permanently is when we are able to free ourselves from all those delusional state of mind. And even though we might not be able to change other people's delusional mind, but at least we can change our mind. And if each of us try to reduce those delusional mind, overcome those delusional mind, if each of us try to be more kind, compassionate, more understanding, more patience, slowly, slowly, we will see changes. But we have to start with ourselves. The world cannot be changed. We want others to change, and we are not willing to change ourselves. So the change has to come first from ourselves. Therefore, it's so crucial and important for our own peace, for our own happiness, for the peace and happiness of all the beings in this world, that we need to work with our mind to reduce and overcome all those defilements, all those negative emotions, and trying to increase and improve healthy, beneficial, positive emotions. And to be able to do that, we need to practice. And the Lojong practice is a very powerful practice. The mind training Lojong practice, very powerful practice to do that. So that's why we have kind of come here together, so we can discuss about those Lojong practices, so we can be reminded, inspired, so we can apply, integrate in our everyday life, and slowly, slowly, even if not by day, week by week, month by month, but at least year by year, we started to see, even if not big changes, but small, small changes, positive changes, transformation. May I ask coming here together and listening to the teachings, discussions, reflecting, may all become cause and conditions to attain fully enlightened state as quick as possible. So we can be even more greater benefit and not only to just few people and few sentient beings, but to all sentient beings equally. Okay. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent, destroy the one gone beyond, the four destroy the completely perfect, the fully awakened being, perfect knowledge, and it good conduct, Sugata, Lord of the world, supreme guides of the human beings to become teacher of God and human beings to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent, destroy, the glorious conqueror, the subdue from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offering, and go for refuge. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with body as many as all realms, atoms, in all aspect with the supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous action, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind through this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual, apprehensions, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see condition, things as such. Through this merit, may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from samsaric oceans, perturbed by the wave of aging, sickness, and death. sa shi pe ge chong xin me to tang re ra le shi ye de ge ba de sang ge xin do ye de wo wa do kun nama ta xin I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodang soge sonam la changchu padu dane kya soje lage soje ki pe sonam dola penche sangye doba sangye chodang soge sonam changchu padu lage soje ki pe sonam dola penche padu doba. So we have been going through the Geshe Chekawa's mind training, the 7-point mind training, and we have finished the first 5, and maybe we are at the first 5, the preliminary, and then engage into the actual practice of mind training in the true bodhicitta mind, and then transforming all unfavorable condition into the path to enlightenment, and then integrating all the practices into one single lifetime, and then measurement of having trained the mind. And then on the 6th, we have been going through the commitments, and we have finished There are 18 commitments, and then we have finished last time after 17 commitments, and we have come to the last commitment, the 18th one. But again, as all of commitment, we can see, you know, all these commitments are to help us to keep our, you know, good heart of loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind from deteriorating, from diminishing, and to maintain and to increase and improve through our state of mind, you know, through our attitudes, through our speech, through our physical behavior, you know. So it's basically being mindful all the time and trying to refrain from any harmful and hurtful actions that could arise in our mind, in our speech, in our body, and always trying to be mindful and always trying to apply as much as possible into a thoughts, into a speech, into an act that can help and benefit other sentient beings. And again, all this, this commitment are a tools or method to help us to reduce our selfish attitude and self-grasping mind, and to increase the wisdom and the bodhicitta mind. And so those are the commitments, those different commitments that we have been going through. And as you can see, the 18th one, it says, don't seek others' misery as a means to happiness. So basically saying, you know, don't seek others' pain and suffering for your own happiness. And in other words, you know, we are not seeking happiness, our own happiness, at the expense of, you shouldn't be seeking your own happiness at the expense of others. You know, especially when we're training in both of us path and mind training, you know. Of course, each and every sentient beings has this innate wish to be happy and not to suffer. And we all have right to be happy, not to suffer. We all have right to seek happiness and not to suffer. But when we seek our happiness, we shouldn't be seeking our own happiness at the expense of others. In a sense, we shouldn't be seeking our own happiness, you know, by the means of pain and suffering and misery and misfortune of others. When we do that, then, you know, it's against the Bodhisattva practice, is against the Lojong practices. Because the Bodhisattva practice, the Lojong practice, you know, not only seek your own happiness, but to seek happiness of others as well. You know, so, for example, you know, in many area in our life, you know, for example, you know, if you have some sense of jealousy or competitiveness with someone, be in job, be in sport, you know, be in business, whatever, you know, so you have some feeling of competitor. And so if you wish, in order to make yourself successful and happy, if you wish the others to have a misfortune, then that is what he's talking about here. Then you are seeking your own success, your own happiness at the expense of someone's misfortunes, sufferings, you know. Some example, you know, even though maybe we are not involved, we might not be having all this, but some example will be, you know, for example, if you are running a business in the health, you know, if you wish more people get sick, my business will improve. Do you get this? So of course, if your wish is just to make money, so you can have that kind of, someone can have that kind of thoughts. You know, the more you have patience, the more you make money. So you wish your own success, your own happiness on the expense of all. Sometimes you can have that kind of thoughts. Or when two people are competing, whether it's sport, anything, they wish their competitors have some misfortune so they don't have to, then they can win, you know. Either yourself, sometimes it can happen even when you're supporting two teams, you know. If two rival teams playing and one team that you support and you are attached to and like that, you know, that one supporter wish bad for the other players, because sometimes that is where they for them to win. If the other players, if they are, and so that wishing, you know, is again same here saying that we want to have our own win at the expense of someone's misfortune, you know. So that means sometimes we are not even aware of that, you know, the way we are feeling. And same, if you're applying for a job, you know, in order for you to get the job, you wish some misfortune for others. Maybe that person make a mistake in interview or do something silly so that then I can have the job. So that is kind of wishing someone misfortune and bad, pain and suffering, so that you can win, so you can have the prosperity, so you can have your happiness. You seek your happiness on the base, on the expense of others, and that goes against both the Lojong practice and both Bodhisattva practice. And so here say we should avoid. We shouldn't be doing that. And to not to do that, we have to be very mindful and watch our mind all the time. Sometimes even we do that, we are not even aware of that. You know, and especially with people who have conflict, with people who dislike, we can have that kind of, you know, thoughts. You know, for example, I think in these political situations, there are a lot of people who don't agree and we dislike, and we might be wishing them a bad. You know, we might be wishing them all the bad. You know, and that is where this comes. You know, so we can disagree, and we can definitely disagree. We can stand up for ourselves, for the society, for that. But that doesn't mean we have to wish them misfortune, bad things happening to them. We wish maybe them good things, and then changing and transforming for them to be more compassion, to develop more kindness, more compassion, more. We can wish them, you know, more wisdom, more compassion, more understanding, more caring. Wish them maybe they can be more benefit to the society. But when we started to feel, some kind of a wish, feeling, I wish that person dies. I wish that person have some kind of misfortunes, I wish this and that, then that is where this comes, This is something we have to watch, because this can come very easily to us if we don't watch enough, because we are so upset, frustrated, angry, certain leaders, certain individuals, and then sometimes we are not even aware that we are having such a negative thoughts and wishing them to have some kind of misfortunes, bad things happening to them. If we do that, then it's damage. If we do that, then it damages our good heart, the seed of our loving kindness, compassion, our kindness which we have, that become diluted, polluted. We damage that, and that is not going to solve the problem. Just by wishing that, if the problem is going to solve, that will be another matter. The problem is not going to solve just by wishing that, but what it does is it kind of damage our goodness, our own goodness, and it kind of we lose the path, we lose the path, we are trying to be on the path to enlightenment. We are trying to be on the path to be more compassionate, more kind, to develop bodhicitta mind. And when we started to have those kind of negative feelings, thoughts, even for one sentient beings, then we are losing the path. We are going off the path. We are going further from the path. Instead of going closer on the path, we are going, more distant, more further from the path. So this is something we have to be watchful of our thoughts, our mind. And when we realize sometime when we realize and when we are able to identify or recognize any kind of this kind of negative thought arising, immediately we try to change it. We try to wish them goodness instead of bad, Instead of misfortune, we wish them fortune. We wish them to have a healthy life, happy life. We wish them to have a more loving kindness, more wisdom. We wish them to be more better persons, and so forth. There is always scope to wish them the best in that way. And when we do that, then we are on the path. When we do that, then we are getting closer and closer on our path toward the enlightenment. When we do that, then we are kind of nurturing the seed of our goodness, love and compassion. And when we do that, we are creating one person to become cause of more peace and happiness to the world, and protecting one person from being, harmful person in the society, So that is the commitment. So with that, we kind of complete the 18 commitments, and then next is the precepts. It's more like a kind of advice, guidelines, So that there is a 21 kind of mind training guidelines. So commitment is something you have to do, whereas guideline is something that is not exactly same as a commitment, but of course it is something. If you do it, then it helps you. It helps you. It helps your practice, especially here. That these are the guidelines, kind of advice guideline to improve our Lojong practice, to improve our bodhicitta mind, the conventional bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta mind. It helps us to improve, to become a better person, more kind, more compassionate, more understanding, more wise, more happy, So these are some of the advice, some of the guidelines. And here, of course, there are 22, but it doesn't mean this is the only number, There can be so many other practices that can help us to, the guideline that can help us to be on that path. And so the first one, it says, every yoga, so yoga means practice, every yoga or practice should be performed as one, with one intentions, basically, with one intentions. So what it means is, during our everyday life, 24 hours, and especially when we're awake, that everything that we do, whether we are doing some form of meditations, whatever form of different meditations, whether we are starting to, or whether we are studying the Dharma, whether we're having any kind of, discussions, or whether we're waking up in the morning, whether we are then, have a shower, whether, or brushing, whether we are making a coffee, teas, breakfast, meals, and having a meals, and whether we are going to the job or walks, or whether we are doing exercise, whatever, all these activities that we do throughout the days, it should be performed by one intention, one motivation, and that is to help and benefit sentient beings. And that is the essence of the Lojong practice. That is the essence of all the Bodhisattvas practice, the path. The essence of Bodhisattva's practice path, which the Lojong is part of, is to have that intentions to be help and benefit to sentient beings, no matter what you do, whatever you are doing. And when you are able to bring that intentions, motivations into whatever we are doing, that, that one intention to all the different practice activities that we engage into, then whatever activity we do, they become meaningful. Then going to toilet become meaningful. Taking a shower becoming meaningful. Making a coffee becoming meaningful. Normally, making a coffee is nothing meaningful. It's just a neutral But when you come with that intentions to be benefit, then even making coffee becoming meaningful. Then sleeping becoming meaningful. Normally sleeping is a wasting a time. We do that because we need to rest because our body need is. Apart from that, it doesn't seem so meaningful apart from keeping our body more healthy. But when you bring that one intention, the motivations of bodhicitta motivation to help others, to be benefit to others, then even the sleeping become meaningful. Gardening becoming meaningful. Walking becoming meaningful. Driving becoming meaningful. So then 24 hours can become meaningful. 24 hours can become meaningful. And if we can make our 24 hours meaningful, then the weeks become meaningful. Months become meaningful week by week. Month by month, year become meaningful. Year by year, our life become meaningful. That's how we can make our life meaningful. To make your life meaningful, you don't have to go and protect, save 100,000 lives. Of course, if you have ability, if you can do that, is wonderful, but it doesn't has to be that to become your life meaningful. You don't have to be there and to kind of solve all the, get rid of all the poverty in the world or to save everyone's, Even without being able to do that, still your life can become meaningful if we can bring that one intention, that one thought, one motivation in all our activities. And then even you are watching a TV, normally watching a TV news, doesn't seem so much meaningful, except then you know what is happening a little bit. But if you bring that intentions, then also that can be meaningful, because thinking I'm going to watch, so I see what is happening in the world, and so that I can have more understanding of other people's feelings, other people's state of beings, so I can have more compassion for them, because the more I have understanding of them, the more I can feel for them. Even I might not agree with them, and even we might be in opposite side, but then I can see why, from what state they are coming from, where is that coming from there, and at least you can feel why they do that, why someone behave that, why someone has such kind of attitude, why someone has such a view, such a behavior, One example, just to give an example, maybe that could help us sometime, A child who grow up in a very difficult circumstances, abuse, violence, and as they grow up in that kind of environment and without love, compassion, and such a difficult, and they grow up and then they don't have tools to deal with that traumas and all this. They don't have the skillful means, they don't have the support, they don't have the means to deal with that. And then because of all this that they have been carrying since their childhood, because of how they grow and all that, and they don't have the means to deal with that, then they might act very differently, They might not, they could be, they don't know how to express love, compassion, because they never experienced that themselves, because they have gone through so much violence themselves. They might think violence is natural, it's okay. because that is what you grow up, and seems like that is a normal. It's not a bad, it's a normal. So they can have that kind of, they could have that because of their past and their upbringing, their environment, and they don't have the means to deal with that. And then we might think, oh, that person is very, violent, unkind, uncompassionate, mean, because of their attitude, because of their, behavior. And then when you started to know the persons, and then you see how much they have gone through, what they have gone through, and how they didn't have the means, support to do that, then even though you might not agree with their kind of behavior, the still kind of unkind, cruel behavior, but you can feel for that person why that person is acting that way. Do you get it? You don't agree with that person's harmful behavior, cruel behavior, because it hurts and harms others and maybe themselves. But at the same time, you can still feel some compassion for that person, because you see, the pain, the suffering that they have gone through, and that kind of, that's affecting them in that way to behave that way, and to have such attitude, such thought. So then we are able to differentiate these two things. Feel compassion for the person, at the same time, do not agree with their behavior, harmful behavior, and we even take actions to stop such harmful behavior, but without being so upset and angry with that person, but even feeling compassion. So I think now I don't know where did I start from here to come to this this point. I think I lost the connections. Yes?
Geshe, I think that you're kindly helping us to understand how, for example, watching the news and watching things, we can better understand how someone is feeling.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's where, how even that, something which is normally disturbing and not meaningful, can become meaningful if we have the right intentions, the right motivation, the right thoughts when we are doing that. And because when we see news, TV, or even maybe we see directly, some people seems very unkind, cruel, mean, and definitely we have to take actions to protect others from such harmful, cruel, harmful behavior, actions, so forth. But at the same time, I think it is always good to understand the persons and where they come from, to have such kind of mentality, to have such a view, to have such a attitude and behavior and actions. Then I think we might be able to feel compassion for that person, while we totally disagree and take actions to protect ourselves and others from such harmful actions. And I think that is the key. That is the Bodhisattva's practice. Compassion with the wisdom. Compassion with the wisdom. If you don't have wisdom, then you might just allow them to continue to harm. And if you don't have compassion while you are trying to stop from being harmed, but again, you have very anger and hatred instant. So therefore, the Bodhisattva's path and the Lojong practice is to help us to have both the wisdom and the compassion going together. So there, when we bring both together, because of compassion, we feel compassion for the person. Because our wisdom, we distinguish the person and person's harmful behavior and attitude and actions. And then we take actions to stop such harmful actions and behavior. And so that is the first guidelines. I think I did mention before one time, in one of those, but I think whatever we are doing, of course, we have to do different things every day. I think there was one caution during the Friday. Again, someone it reminded me of that caution a little bit, because we have to survive, we have to live, we have to pay a bill. So we have to work, we have to do a lot of things, even you don't want to do, even you feel it's a waste of time. Even you feel like, I want to dedicate whole my life to Dharma, studying Dharma, meditations. I don't like to, clean my house, but you have to clean, otherwise it will have an effect on your health. Even though I don't feel like I want to take a shower, because, if you don't do that, then you will have your health. So therefore you have to be healthy in order to practice better, or to be beneficial. The same thing, eating, cooking, going to the work, because you have to pay bills, so you have to work. And so you feel all this useless, meaningless, and you can feel very negative about it. This is something I don't want to do, but I have to do it. Instead of that, you bring this intention, this one intention, bodhisattva intentions, to every of that, then all of them become practice. All of them become meaningful. All of them become a path. While you are driving, you can think about the pain and suffering of sentient beings, and wish them happiness, wish them to be free from the sufferings, and make a wish to be able to, in the futures, whenever opportunity arises, to reduce and to free them from suffering, and and wish them to be free from suffering, and wanting to lead them to happiness. And to do that, we need to practice, and we need to be more enlightened, more compassionate, more wise. To become a more compassionate, more wise, more enlightened, we need to practice. To practice, we need to be healthy. And we need to have all the conditions. We need to have the conditions to be able to practice. And therefore, we need to have the money, to have the food, to be able to take care of your health, to be able to have something to eat, drink, shelter. All of that are conditions for to be healthy, to be able to practice better. And so therefore, you can, and therefore I need to go to job. Therefore, I need to drive to the job. So therefore, so you can relate that with everything, every activity you do towards that. And in that way, then again, we are meditating on bodhisattva all the time. Even you are not on cushion, you are still working with your bodhisattva. While you are going to the toilet, you can still be working with your bodhisattva. While you are cleaning, you can still be working with your bodhicitta, while you are driving, walking. So I think that is important, you know. And then all the errors are to be amended by one means. Here it's apply the one to all perverse oppressors. Different translations. So what it means is, you know, when you are trying to practice the Lojong, and when you are trying to engage in the bodhisattva path and the practice, you know, and even we try our best, you know, it's not going to change. The world is not going to change by themselves. Even when you do your best from your side, when you are trying to practice the Lojong bodhisattva practice path, it doesn't mean the world itself is going to change. Still, you know, there will be some, you know, unkind people, you know, due to their delusions. Still, there will be some people who are unkind people, you know, and because of that, they can be mean to us. They can be mean to us, not so kind to us or others, you know, or sometimes, you know, even if you try your best to be kind to them, loving, caring to them, respectful others, sometimes people might be very disrespectful to you. Sometimes people can, you know, insult us. Sometimes people can criticize us. Sometimes some people can insult us, you know, humiliate us through different actions, behavior. Even when you are trying to be bodhisattva and best persons, even when you try to help them, trying to benefit them, still, due to, you know, delusions, sometimes people can respond that way. And sometimes when we're practicing true Dharma, Lojong, and Bodhisattva path, sometimes we can have other obstacles, you know. Sometimes our health, we can have health obstacles, we can have health issues. It doesn't mean because we are practicing the Lojong, because we are practicing the Bodhisattva, that you will never have a health issue. Sometimes we could have a health issue. Sometimes we could have, you know, financial issues, difficulties when we are trying to practice, while we are practicing. Sometimes we can have, you know, difficulty in our relationship. All things can happen, you know. All these different challenges, difficulties could arise. We can encounter them. Sometimes we don't feel like practicing, you know. We get discouraged. Sometimes we might have discouragement and you don't feel like practicing anymore. You know, sometimes we might feel, you know, practicing the Dharma, practicing the Lojong, practicing Bodhisattva path, it's too much for me. You know, it's not within my, it is not within my capacity. Or maybe sometimes we might think, oh, all these teachings are garbage, you know, meaningless. Sometimes we might even have that. Sometimes we have a doubt about all these teachings, about all this practice. Sometimes doubt arises. Sometimes other negative thoughts arises towards the practice, towards the teachings. Sometimes we don't have the enthusiasm, the delight, the joyness in our practice. Even we try our best and trying to really work very hard to practice, but sometimes those things happens, could arises from previous karmic imprint. All these external challenges, internal challenges can just pop up, sometimes out of nowhere. Do you get it? I think one of the questions we had from Friday, things, some like different emotions, different thoughts pop up. And sometimes we might be very surprised, where did that come from? So things happens. All these things could happen, and sometimes, someone has not been mean to you, and of course then there are people with whom we have conflict, difficulties, and that. And sometimes there are people who don't have any kind of personal any kind of kind of conflict, personal conflict. Neither that person has tried to be mean to you, neither you have tried to be mean to them. But sometimes you just dislike some people. Do you get it? You don't even know them, anything. But just, and sometimes you don't know anything, you just like them. Just walking on the street, sometimes you see some people, somehow you have no idea why you dislike, but you just doesn't like that person. And sometimes you just like that person without knowing them. And due to karma, is due to certain karma from the past. Such, we can't see any reason for us to like that person and not like person from, if you look from this lifetime, we haven't had any interactions. We don't know each other. We are seeing for the first time, and we are not trying to, someone's walking by there, you are walking by there, and suddenly, oh, I don't like that person's. Oh, I like that person's. And sometimes, again, due to from the past karma, that kind of things, feelings could arise as well. So those different external, internal challenges, difficulties that could manifest, that could arise, that could pop up, that we could encounter when we are practicing the Lojong mind trainings. When that happens, then you recognize what is happening. You recognize whatever is happening. Oh, I'm having this difficulty, or I'm having these challenges, or there is external, internal, or I'm feeling that way, or or these thoughts, or these emotions, or this state of mind has arises. Being aware, recognizing that, and then, oh, I'm not only one who is going through that. So many other beings are also experiencing the same way like me, or maybe even worse. So what is happening to you, then it kind of triggers you to understand other people's pain and suffering who are going through similar, even worse situations. And then with that understanding, feeling compassion, compassion for others who are going through that or worse situations, and then, making a strong wish, determinations. May all their whatever challenges they are going through, whether it's a financial challenges, whether it's a relationship challenges, whether it's a spiritual challenges, you know, whether it's, as I mentioned, many different levels of spiritual challenges, whether they are doubting about their spiritual practice, whether they are not being inspired to do their practice, whether they are feeling lazy about their practice, all of that, may all of them ripen over myself. May they be free from all these challenges. May they be free from all these difficulties. May they be free from all these misfortunes. May they all ripen on myself. May I be able to experience on behalf of them so that they don't have to experience. By me experiencing whatever challenges I'm experiencing, may I be able to experience on behalf of everyone else who are going through to that so they don't have to experience that. So then we transform that, all this into positive, you know, into positive. So in one, you know, we change all these challenges, difficulties into one mean to develop more love and compassion. We transform into to develop love and compassion and to transform on the path to enlightenment. So with that means then we transform into the path. Something, we transform that into something positive, something meaningful. We transform into the, to cultivate and to increase and improve our loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, our understanding of other beings and other beings' feelings and pains. We transform it to increase and improve our bodhicitta mind. So again, that is the second guideline. That is the meaning of that. You know, utilizing that on the path in that way. Utilizing that situation on the path in that way. And if you can, then you can do the Tonglen, taking and giving. And then you do the Tonglen practice. And even you can't do the Tonglen practice, at least you can say, by me experiencing these challenges, may no one have to experience that. May I be able to experience whatever challenges that I'm going through on behalf of all sentient beings. And for example, you know, in this present state, you know, we as those who live in this country and in the world, you know, we are going through a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties, a lot of pain, sufferings. And again, we can see, you know, by we experiencing whatever we are experiencing at the moment, may no one have to experience, may the coming generations, may they do not have to experience that again. May we be able to experience on behalf of all coming generations. May we be able to experience all these challenges and difficulties on the behalf of all sentient beings who are in other worlds, in other realms, so they don't have to experience. So when we are able to really feel that way, then you see a little bit of meaning in going through these difficulties. And so then you don't become so, so down and depressed. Because at the moment, all these challenges and difficulty, we always see the negative influence of that, the negative effect of that. But if we transform that and if we can see, you know, we are experiencing on the behalf of all sentient beings, so that all sentient beings, rest of the other sentient beings, rest of the sentient beings in other worlds and other realms, they don't have to experience it. And so then, you know, so we don't get so so overwhelmed and depressed, and our mind becomes so low and down, you know. because then we can see, even though it is a very difficult time, even it is very difficult, painful, challenging, at the same time, you know, that there is something positive that we can transform in something positive in that way. You know, it's like a poison which has been transformed into medicine. A poison is something we try to avoid. But then if you have some ability to transform into medicine, then you wouldn't be so, you know, unhappy and sad and all of that when you do encounter the poison plant. Instead, you can say, oh, I can use this to transform and make a medicine. And so, the practice is trying to, through this practice, we are learning the tools. We are learning the tools to transform the poison into a medicine. We are learning the tools to transform the difficulties into something positive. And so, of course, it's not enough just learning the tools. We have to apply that. You know, you can learn how to transform the poison into the medicine, but when you have the poisonous, if you don't really apply that, then you can never kind of transform it. So of course, learning the tools is one thing. That is through all this teaching, we learn those different tools, different methods, different ways to transform. And so not only we learn, then we have to apply. We have to apply in our everyday as much as possible, little by little, and slowly increasing, little by little. And so I think, yeah, we will have a break here, and then 10-minute break, and then reach. I think probably when we have two people in front of us that we do not know, and we feel attachment or liking for one, and aversion or dislike for others. Is it our work to cultivate loving kindness, compassion for both equally? How do we stay out of delusion with either persons? Yes, definitely. It is our work. We have to work, especially when we are working on both sides of the path, to cultivate loving kindness, compassion equally to both of them, each and every sentient beings. That is at least our goal. Our goal is to cultivate, to develop love and compassion to each and every sentient being equally. So definitely we need to, it's not easy at the very beginning, but at least we have to try and work on that. And so that, and how do we keep out of delusion state? You know, I think when we feel that, as I mentioned, sometimes even you are seeing, even you don't know the person, we like that person because maybe, you know, you know, our own mind kind of exaggerating certain things. And then we bring something we like into that person's. And so therefore, that is like the attachment arises, you know. For example, sometimes we might have an attachment and liking to certain persons, whether it's out personal look, or maybe sometimes it's their behavior, their attitude. And so we see that in that person, and so we start liking. Because, for example, if I'm attached to a certain attitude, I see that attitude in that person, so I like and I have attachment that, you know, or I like maybe certain physical appearance, and then I see that person, even though I don't know personally, but I see that person have that physical appearance, so therefore I like or I have attachment. And same with the disliking, you know. We have certain dislike, aversion to certain, maybe certain physical appearance, maybe certain attitude, maybe certain, certain behavior, certain actions, and then we see that person has that, one of those qualities. And so then we started to feel aversions or disliking. And so therefore, that is when we have to change our, that, so therefore, that means we have to work with our attachment and aversions, because we have certain attachment, certain aversion to certain qualities, and then when we see that quality in that person's, even if we don't know him, then either we get attached or whether we get aversions. And the reason why we have aversions to one, even if we don't know, and one to that attachment is because we see certain quality in there, and then we're attached to those certain quality and aversion to that. And sometimes there is even, sometimes maybe we are not even kind of spinning our mind in that way, but sometimes it's just from our previous karma, So sometimes it can be from here, this life, because we are spinning our mind, thinking in certain way, and some certain qualities, and so sometimes it's just a past imprint, and then karmic imprint, and it come in contact, and you just feel that way. And so of course we need to purify the karma as well as work with the delusions. And when we reduce and overcome delusion, of course, then we can also purify the karma as well, So I think that is kind of regarding the questions. I don't know whether I answered it, but I think then third guideline said there are two activities at the beginning and end. And the two very important activities at the beginning and the end. And that can be taken in two ways. One is at the very beginning and end of all the practice that we engage into, So whether we are doing karma abiding, shamatha, breathing meditations, or whether we are doing a more kind of analytical vipassana meditations, or whether we are doing some kind of, vajrayana, sadhana or meditations, or whether we are doing some meditation on loving kindness, compassion, or whether we are working with some preliminary practices, even such as making offerings, purification, whatever form of practice we do, whether it's a very small practice or big practice, whether it's a very short practice, either it's a long practice, no matter what we do, it's important to have the right motivations at the beginning of the practice and the right dedication at the end of the practice. Very important. Motivation is important because whether your practice, whatever form of your practice you are doing, whether it become a dharma or not, it depends on motivations. Whether it become a Mahayana dharma or not, or Bodhisattva path or not, practice or not, it becomes on motivations. Whether it become cause of enlightenment or not, it depends on motivation. Whether it become a cause of fully enlightenment or not, it depends on motivations. So in Buddhism, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, especially in those Nalanda traditions, the motivation is the key factors, the most important factors. It's like when you are cooking, preparation is like, I hear sometimes, whether it's cooking or different things, some people pay very much important preparation, because if you have done well prepared, that actual whatever you are doing become easy and good. If you don't prepare well, then what you are trying to do, it doesn't become a good. Similarly, the intention, motivations is the crucial. you know, the act of giving, for example, the act of generosity or act of giving, for example, whether the act of giving become cause of, you know, whether it become virtues or non-virtues, it depends on the motivations. If I'm giving or practicing generosity, so that maybe, you know, I can get more from that person's. That is not virtues. That is non-virtues. The act of giving is that by giving $1, you want to get $100 from him or her, you know. So the intention, motivations is for you to get more from that person's, even though it's act of giving something. Because of that motivation, the act of giving become non-virtues instead of virtues. So whether it's virtues or not virtues, more than the act itself is the intention, the motivations. You know, and then if our motivations, for example, to meditate is just to feel good, you know, to have a healthy, you know, healthy life, to feel good, to be healthy, good, it is okay, but is that meditation practice only become a cause for your good health and good health and feeling good, but beyond that, it doesn't become much meaningful beyond that. So your act become very limited. It doesn't become pure Dharma in a sense. It's an ordinary Dharma. But if your intention, motivations, I mean, so that could be, we're talking about the generosity, giving, the act of giving. So with the act of giving, also that could be, you know, so if, because then people will like me, if I give, that person will like me, I will have a good reputations. People will think I'm generous, kind. So again, you know, your act become very limited in benefit. So it become a ordinary Dharma. And then same act, if you have motivations for, you know, better conditions in the future so that you can continue to practice the Dharma, then that become, you know, Dharma, but still, you know, not a cause of nirvana or liberations. And then if your motivation of giving is with the motivations to overcome all the delusion, to actualize liberation, nirvana, then the act of that giving become cause for liberation. And if you is motivated by bodhicitta mind, you give so that you can be benefit and help to all sentient beings, not only that person to whom you are giving, but by act of that giving, so you can become, so you can be able to help. It is, you are helping that person directly now, but with the intention to be able to help all sentient beings in so many different ways. And to do that, then, you know, we need to be more enlightened, and for more enlightened, then the practice of generosity is needed. So with that, then when it comes bodhicitta mind, then that act become both sort of a path, both sort of a practice, cause of fully enlightenment. And so I think so that is why the intention, motivation at the very beginning is so crucial and important, because whether your act is virtues, non-virtues, whether your act is dharma, non-dharma, whether your act or practice is Mahayana Dharma or no Dharma, all depend on the intention, the motivations. So that is why we pay focus. That is why we start with the refuge and bodhicitta with all the practice. So that we recite that, and then so we can try to cultivate the bodhicitta motivations for doing whatever practice. And then at the end, you try to dedicate whatever virtues, whatever positive karma, positive energy, merit, or we might have created by engaging in something positive, something wholesome actions. Even that, whatever we have created, we dedicate for all sentient beings. We dedicate for the happiness of all sentient beings, not just for our well-beings and prosperity and happiness, but instead we dedicate for all sentient beings happiness, all sentient beings prosperity, all sentient beings goodness. And when you have dedicated for all sentient beings, you yourself has included there. You don't have to feel, oh, I didn't dedicate for myself. Do you get it? Feel like you are missing something because you gave everything to some others and there is nothing left for you. You don't have to worry that. When you dedicate all sentient beings, you are one of the sentient beings, your prayer has been done. Dedication for you have been done. And that becomes much more powerful than when you dedicate just for yourself. The merit when you dedicate for all sentient beings become much more powerful for your own benefit than you dedicate for just yourself or your families or your friends. When you dedicate all sentient beings, your family is included there. Your friends are included there. Everyone is included there. So, and also as Shantideva explained in his Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, when you dedicate for all sentient beings, then that virtues never cease, never finish. Even you experience result of that virtues, again you continue to experience until because it is said like when you don't dedicate for all sentient beings, it's like a drop of water on the hot, warm rock. It dry up immediately. It dried up immediately. So you experience the result of one time and it's finished. But when you dedicate for all sentient beings, then it's like a drop of water in the oceans. As long as oceans is there, the part of that drop of water is there. Inexhaustible. Same way, when we dedicate for all sentient beings, then that virtues is inexhaustible. And so therefore dedicating for all sentient beings happiness, dedicating for fully enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, dedicating for the to the Dharma to flourish or to not to deteriorate, to flourish, because that is the source of all happiness for all sentient beings. Dedicating for the long life of the gurus, because that is the way they teach the Dharma, and by people practicing the Dharma, so then they can be, all sentient beings can be happy. And so again, dedicating for the, so those are some of the dedication that is recommended as some of the best dedication that we can do. And so trying to end our practice, our meditation, whatever form of practice, trying to end with that kind of dedications. Sometimes it doesn't, to dedicate that way, it takes you maybe 2 minutes, 1 minute or 2 minutes extra. But benefit is so great we shouldn't lose that benefit. We shouldn't lose that opportunity. We just have to spend 1 more minute to dedicate that way. After every practice, whatever practice we do. So we should make effort, be mindful and make effort. Whatever, even when you do 5 minutes of practice, 10 minutes of practice, whatever form of practice, don't forget to dedicate in that way. Also, when we dedicate in that way, anger cannot destroy that virtues. Sometimes the anger can destroy some of the virtues. But when you dedicate that way, then also anger cannot destroy that kind of virtue totally. And so again, it is you protect it, you kind of protect that way too. So we just have to take a couple of minutes extra at the beginning and extra at the end before whatever practice we do to have the right intention and right motivations. And then that practice become very powerful. Whatever practice you do, it become very powerful. Right, right and powerful intentions or preliminary, and then the actual practice itself and the completions with the dedication, very powerful and meaningful dedication. So then that way, then we try to make it most meaningful, most beneficial, most powerful. And if there is a way to do, why not do it? And we don't have to give 20 minutes, half hour to do that. We just give 2 minutes, 1 minute, even in 1 minute, you can do that dedications, So I think that is important to remember that. That is why, like in all the, when all the teachers, whether it's His Holiness Dalai Lama, Kapil Lamas, all the teachers, when they teach at the very beginning, they always have the motivations, bodhicitta motivation. At the end, they always end with the dedications. And we also try to follow that traditions here. Also, when we have any pujas, practice, whenever we have any kind of teachings, we try to begin with a good intentions, and we try to end with a good dedications. And so not only we do when we're in a group, but you try to do that when you do yourself. You apply that same when you are by yourself, whatever practice meditation you do, so that your practice and meditation become more meaningful, more powerful, more strong. Also, some of the commentaries, with this third outline at the beginning and end, also they talk about beginning in the morning. When you get up, when you wake up, then you try to develop the motivations. Motivation for, as we talked a little bit last time when we were integrating the 5 powers, similarly, you try to generate a morning good intention motivations, saying, today I'm going to try all my best not to get upset, angry. Especially if we are dealing with some emotion strongly, especially making that strong motivation intention in the morning. Maybe we are dealing with some kind of frustration. Maybe we are dealing with some kind of anger. Maybe we are dealing with some kind of, worry, anxiety, or maybe we are dealing with some kind of whatever emotion we might be dealing with that. We make a strong determination. I will try all my best today not to get upset, not to get angry, not to get frustrated, not to get so mentally down, depressed, not to make myself too much worry, too much fearful. So we, whatever, having that kind of intention, motivation, determination, starting the day can have an effect throughout the day. Instead of starting the day with a bad mood, starting the day with bad mood and feeling, oh, life is miserable. Feeling life is miserable. Or starting the day with very upset, angry from whatever, something that happened yesterday or last week or last month. If you start with that kind of, bad mood, that kind of negative thoughts, negative feelings, it's going to affect your whole day. Then the whole day, you feel bad. You feel miserable because you started the day. The first thing is that kind of miserable feelings. The whole day you feel very moody, bad mood, because whole day, then people annoy you, everything annoy you because you are in moody. Even someone trying to say hi, still you become, normally if someone say hi, hello, we as human beings, we like, we are social animal, so we like to interact. But when you are moody, if someone say hi, what are you telling? Why, you don't feel same. And so your day become kind of that moody and easily affected, easily annoyed with even the, so therefore we start that day with a good intention. And then of course, when we are talking about the Lojong and the Bolsa Pia, then we try to develop a strong intention that I'll try my best to be more kind, more compassion as much as possible today. I will try all my best to be helpful and beneficial to others as much as possible. I will try all my best not to be hurtful and harmful to others today. No matter how difficult it is, I will try all my best. So to have that strong motivation, determinations in the morning can have you effect throughout the day, because during the day, when we are less compassionate and when we started to become a little bit nasty and unkind, then suddenly because of your morning intention, motivation, determination, it reminds you and then to kind of change and transform. And so therefore, it can have and so trying to develop that strong bodhicitta motivations, intention in the morning. And then throughout the day, you try to be mindful as much as possible. Throughout the day, trying to be as mindful as possible, and trying to be mindful and seeing whether you are being kind, compassionate or not, whether you are being helpful or beneficial or not, whether as you have motivated this morning, or whether you are being a kind of, harmful and hurtful, which you didn't want to have that in the morning. And so when you see that, and when you see, then you try to transform and change at that moment whenever possible. And at the end, before we go to bed, then you try to reflect throughout the day. See, this morning, I develop a strong intention, motivation, determination not to get upset and angry, frustrated. Did I get upset, angry, frustrated during the day or not? You analyze, you check it out. This morning, I try to generate an intention to be more kind, compassionate, helpful, meaningful. Did I do that throughout my day? You analyze, and if you see, oh, you have done well, as just you have been able to do as much as you have generated the motivation, determination this morning, then you can rejoice, feel good about it, rejoice, and make strong determination that I will try to continue that tomorrow, week, months, and years, and lives. So making a strong, then I will continue to do that. I will even work harder to even be better than even that, and so that. And if we see that we have not been up to our motivations, determination, that that we have developed morning, if we are not up to that, we will have gone in different directions. We try to generate, kind of little bit of regret and try to do purifications. Whatever form of purification, we try to purify that and make a strong determination. Well, I had a good intention, but I couldn't keep up my intentions as I wanted, but I'm going to try better next day. Even I haven't been successful, so successful today, as successful as I wanted in this morning, but still, we try to do purifications, and then for whatever mistake we make, for whatever, if we have got in an angry state, frustrating state, and like that, then we try to purify that, and then we make a strong determination not to do that, and instead to improve and do better next day, next week, next month, and so that is what it is. There are two activities, very important activities. So at the beginning and the end. So that is the meaning of that. Okay, and then the fourth guidelines, whichever occurs, be patient with both. Whatever comes, whatever. So it is saying, we are patient. We are patient when things are going well, isn't it? We can be patient when things are going well. Do we have difficulty with being patient when everyone is nice, kind? We can easily be patient when everyone is nice, kind, caring, loving, saying good things about you. When life seems to be going well, it's easy to be patient. Relationship is going well, you don't have challenges. Financial situation going well, you don't have so much challenges. Health-wise, you are in good health, there's no more challenges. So when things are going well, it is easy to be patient, and we practice patience, and we think we are good practitioner of patience because we don't get easily upset, angry, frustrated. So because there is no cause to make us upset, frustrated, and angry, then we think, oh, we are doing well. So that is one thing. So not only we need to be patient when things are going well, and when it seems easy to practice, we should also practice when things are not going well, both good time and bad times, difficult time and easy times. We need to be patient with all that. We need to practice patience, especially when things are going difficult. That is the way we need to practice the patience most. When things are going well, even we don't practice patience very strongly, still, it's not too bad. But when things are going difficult time, that's the way we need patience. Because when we have challenges, health challenges, physical health challenges, relationship challenges, financial challenges, sometimes spiritual challenges, all kind of political challenges, all kind of different challenges. That is when we become impatient. That is when we become impatient. That is when we become more frustrated. And impatience and frustration lead to anger. And if we don't take up anger, that lead to hatred, ill will feelings. And when we have that ill will feeling, hatred, that is when we started to hurt and harm others. Really, And so therefore, we need to apply the patience, especially during those difficult times, especially during the challenging time. And that is what we, for example, in our case at the moment, because it's been one of the most difficult time, challenging time. And instead of giving ourselves to frustration, anger, impatience, instead we should try to not give up ourselves to that kind of frustration, impatience, anger. Instead we try to apply, even it's not easy, to apply to become more patient, to become more compassion, to become more understanding. That is the only way that we can create better environment for better conditions, for better society. Other side, they are frustrated, impatient, angry, hatred. And from our side, we also act that way. How are we going to create a better society? So even they are mean, unkind, still we try to be more patient and more kind, compassion. That doesn't mean, again, we have already discussed so many times, being compassionate, being patient, doesn't mean allow them to kind of continue to hurt and harm others. We can have compassion to that person. We can be patient to that person, but we have to take actions to stop such harmful actions. And you can have, without contradicting, you can have that. You can feel patient to that person. You can have a compassion to that person. At the same time, you can take a strong actions to stop that person's harmful behavior, actions. And that is what we need. And so, being patient with whatever happens, when things are good and even when things are not good. And in one of it says, I don't remember exactly which Lojong text. There is in one of the Lojong, there is a verses where it says, when you don't have sickness and when you are, when your stomach is full and when everything's good, you appear like a good practitioner, Dharma practitioner. And when things go bad, when challenged, then you behave like very ordinary. This is similar verses to here, and that is what we do, isn't it? When everything is fine, we seem like we're a great practitioner, patient, kind, smiling, meditating. And then when you have some challenges, different challenges, and then we become very shaky. Our practice becomes shaky. Then we don't practice so much. Our meditation, we started to have shaky. We started to doubt. We don't have the time. We don't have the energy to practice. Our practice becomes shaky. Then we are no more smiling like before. Grumpy. It doesn't seem like we are compassionate. Then we become very frustrated and impatient and angry. And then we act just like another ordinary beings who have no access to those Dharma tools. A lot of people, you can't blame them. You can't be, because they never were exposed to those tools. They didn't have the tools to deal with those things. At least we have learned and we have the tools. And not applying those tools and then behaving just like someone who never had a tool is a great loss. Then we are not making so much difference. And it says, true Dharma practitioner, we can evaluate as true Dharma practitioner with ourselves and others, mostly how we respond and react when we are faced with challenges. That will show how much success we have in practice, how good our practice is, how much we have in progress. When we are faced with challenges, difficulty, how we respond. With what kind of mentality, what kind of attitude, what kind of state of mind we respond, we react. That will, and then verbally and physically, and so so that verses kind of remind me of when after going this one. So basically, he's saying we have to learn to be patient and compassion all the time, not only in easy, good times, but also not so easy and difficult time. Not only we need to apply, is more needed at that time, is even more important to apply at that time. So with that, I think we would kind of, today maybe then we will have the dedications. May all living beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtues of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see form and the deaf hear sound. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those with sorrow find joy, and may the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests, and may all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from all their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightening cease to be afraid. Those bound be freed. May the powerless find power. And may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remains, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewels, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparable contents in Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You who uphold the subdued moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and suppressing mental not victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayer, holiness, and virtues, Savior myself and others, your disciple, please live long. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.